And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Hany Abou-El-Fotouh, economic expert. A very good morning, doctor, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Doctor, first of all, would you shed the light on the countryside-focused Decent Life Initiative, its objectives, beneficiaries, and the status quo?
Let me first congratulate all Egyptians on the 8th anniversary of the June Revolution. Regarding the Decent Life Initiative launched by President Abdel-Fattah El-Sisi, it was launched in January 2019, and its main objective is to provide a decent life for the most vulnerable groups across all governates in Egypt. This initiative, in fact, contributes to enhancing the quality of daily public services provided to the citizens in these villages, particularly in rural areas and most specifically in Upper Egypt. The Decent Life Initiative also provides health care and medical services and surgeries to the citizens in these areas. It also aims to develop the poorest villages and provide job opportunities, and also it aims to support women and education among many other areas for development. This initiative will initially cover in its first phase 4,500 villages, and it aims also to target to improve the lives of 50 million citizens in these areas. Subsequently, the first phase of the initiative already started in the fiscal year 1920, and the next phase will cover nearly 4.7 million citizens. The total investments allocated to the initiative amount to nearly 500 billion pounds, whereas the investments in the first year exceeded nearly 150 billion pounds.
Dr. Hany, also, if you can tell us, how do you see the role of civil society organizations as well as the private sector taking part in this initiative and the importance of their role?
As you mentioned earlier, President Sisi called on civil society organizations to take part in the Decent Life Initiative. In Egypt, there are approximately 40,000 civil society organizations operating in Egypt, and in fact, they can pool funds from donors for the purpose of helping the poorest villages, especially in Upper Egypt, where 75% of citizens in Upper Egypt live below the poverty line. Perhaps other stakeholders in this initiative may include private sector as well, and businessmen. They have an important role to play and help in boosting this initiative. Also, as suggested by the President Sisi, the best way to make such contribution to the initiative is to make it through Tahya Masr Fund, to be the sole dispersing entity for the initiative. So I believe that 40,000 civil society organization as well as the private sector can be of great help to this initiative and make it successful.
Dr. Hany, as we have just marked the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution, how do you see the status quo of the Egyptian economy compared to its performance pre-revolution era?
Well, let me start with the pre-revolution era. During this period, Egypt, in fact, witnessed a very low growth rate, which did not exceed 2%. The population rate, meanwhile, the population growth rate reached 2.5%, which means a decrease in the level of per capita income. The problems of the poor infrastructure and development projects were not properly handled. And for example, the frequent electricity disconnection, the deficit in the trade balance, which during that period reached $31 billion. All these negative sides and negative sides in the economy and the living conditions of the citizens contribute to increasing anger against the ruling regime at that time. Also, the decline in Egypt, also at the pre-revolution area, we all noticed a decline in foreign exchange reserves, the decline in investments and direct foreign investment, particularly the rise of public budget deficit and the external debt, the inflation. All these contributed to increasing anger and dissatisfaction against the ruling regime. In short, the citizens did not feel any improvement to the standard of life. After the revolution, the priorities were to set a high priority to maintain security and stability. The priorities had to be arranged on top of all priorities, as I mentioned, the political and security stability. This took some time, but stability contributes. I'm sure that everybody would agree that stability contributes to improving the economic indicators, and also made Egypt go ahead with plans to implement national projects that contributed to reducing unemployment rates and providing job opportunities. The Egyptian government, after succeeding in creating the climate of stability and security, took a bold step to implement structural reforms in the Egyptian economy. And the adoption of a bold economic reform program was necessary to tackle the serious deficiencies in the economic policies. And after implementing the economic reform programs, its success was praised by a number of international institutions and credit rating agencies, and that made Egypt withstand the difficult repercussions of the coronavirus, and without having implemented the economic reform program, I'm sure that Egypt wouldn't have been in such a good position as we see now.
Yes, indeed, and we'd really like to end it here. Thank you so much, Dr. Hany Abou-El-Fotouh, economic expert, and also, as our finance minister has mentioned, that in 2030, Egypt is expected to be among the 10 largest growing economies worldwide. And dear viewers, by this, we wrap up today's episode of The Breakfast Show. You're in the company of myself, Karim Gamal-Eddin, and my colleague, Dina Hussein. Until we meet again, this is goodbye.